So, now you're in Canada. How did you adjust to the life in Canada? It's your first time, building a community, in that weather. How did you adjust the system? What was shocking to you about the Canadian culture? I was going to ask another question, but I think it would be too much. So let's just dwell on how did you adjust to Canada, and if there was anything that was shocking to you about their culture as well.
Generally, I don't. Adjusting wasn't too bad because I had a few friends that were in the city I was moving to. So when I came in, they kind of welcomed me, and then I just kind of eased me
By
in.
the way, we're only seeing your. Can you?
Oh, oh,
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Good.
Right. So they just kind of welcomed me. They kind of eased me in. So that kind of made it, I'll say, not too bad. But when school resumed, girl,
It hit hard.
it was, oh my God. Even my friends were not even seeing me. Like I would, I just like my life was school, church. Okay, sometimes maybe once in a while out, but it was just school, church, and home. Home church. Oh, lab.
Yeah, lab. Yeah.
Yeah, I was at the lab a lot. That's another thing. So, but then generally, the Canadian culture is not. They're quite. I say they're quite easygoing, quite friendly people. Um, the thing they say about people minding their business is it's true. It's mostly true. People mind their business. It's not. It, it's the same thing everywhere abroad. I'll say there's no. It's not like, oh, everyone is extra nice and extra um I don't know, friendly like the way it is in Nigeria. People mind their business. Or there are people who are actually friendly, who are helpful. They just like say hello and they say hello and stuff. But then everybody is minding their business. So I won't say I had too much of a culture shock. The cold though. That's where the problem was. The cold. It was really cold. It was really cold. I thought it was cold in the UK, but it was really cold. I don't do very well with cold, so that was my major problem at first. I you can see me showing up in class, and I'm wearing like 6 day.
Covered up.
I was always so late. My friends were always like, "What is wrong with you?" I was like, when you see, I would take off like 3 jackets. My friends were like, "Are you not hot? Girl, leave me alone. I'm not hot. I'm dying. Leave me alone. It's cold." Yes. So that was my major problem. It was cold. But besides that, it was good. I joined a Nigerian church, RCCG. So it helped me kind of just easing. I don't know. I just say that helped me easing because there were church people, there were church mommies, church daddies that were kind of checking on me and trying to invite me to stuff. But I'll say aside that, my first Christmas was a disaster. It was so quiet. It was so quiet because I mean everybody.
I was alone. I remember
I,
I was
I
in my room. I'm like,
was.
to be honest, I cried that
Oh
Christmas.
my
Then
God! I
in
know.
2019, I felt so bad. I'm like, is this Christmas? Is this really how Christmas is in the US? Like, it was so lonely. Like I'm like, where's
Yes,
it felt
relate.
so different.
It was so different because I mean, and because my family, when it comes to Christmas, everybody comes from
Yeah.
everywhere. As in, we're all like, there's food, there's stuff. My mom was like, cook something now. You are the mommy.
I'm like,
It's not the cooking. The cooking is not the problem. But then,
problem.
luckily for me, though, I eventually got invited to. So well, my friend's pastor's dinner. So she got invited to a dinner thing, which is where which is one thing I'll say like a lot of Nigerians here don't they when it comes to follow up of a new person, they are okay, but like it's not. I'll say it's not enough. I'll say it's not enough because for a new students who are just coming to the
Yeah.
community and stuff, nobody, not one single family was like, "Oh, what are you doing for Christmas?" Everybody was like,
Yes.
"It will be later, I guess."
Peace.
No, yeah, everyone was just like, "Hey," and so I was just like, but then this guy, this my friend's pastor. So she attends like a multinational church. I'll say a multinational church. So it was a mix of different people from different countries, Canadians, Kenyans and stuff. So she was like, "Oh yeah, you should come to our church Christmas dinner." I'm like, "Okay, I guess. Well,
Don't have a
what am
choice.
I doing with my life?" So then I went. I said that's how I really just like got dressed and just went to sit outside. I don't know. It was good. There was good food. There were friendly people, but I was just like, And that's how I just was like,
Yeah.
hmm, wow, must be nice. I see, I must be, I said so much, must be nice. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, people were exchanging gifts and stuff. I was
Oh,
like,
that is the thing. I don't even know. Like Christmas here, like when you go visit people and then you see them exchanging gifts, I'm like, that's a different thing for me. Like, I mean, we give
what?
gifts, but it's not like it's like an actual tradition.
Tradition.
You
Yeah, it's like
understand?
everyone was sat around the tree
And,
and then, nice exchanging, like, oh, this is what I got for you, grandma. I'm just like,
and
Hmm.
hey,
Anyways, so that was it.
I
That was
can relate
it.
totally.
That was it. That was it. But then aside that, it was fine. I mean, I made friends. I mean, that's one thing. I mean, I made friends. I did a lot of things I wouldn't usually try on my own. Like my friends went mountain climbing, and then we decided to rent scooters and and ride on top of the mountain. Now that's not a thing I would typically do. If my mother even heard us I did such a thing, but yeah, it was we did that, and it was really interesting. Like I've done a couple of interesting things here. That's what I would say. A couple of interesting things. So yeah,
That's really nice. Nice to hear that story. Nice to know that you were also willing to like,
try new
explore,
things.
try new
Yeah.
things. Yeah, this, just integrate and build a community, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So, moving on, how was it like? I know that you had a professor who already was like, you're coming to work in my lab, so you didn't have to like search for on-campus job, right? But then
Yes.
if you're
Yes.
somebody saying if someone is like looking into finding an on-campus job, how would they go about landing one as an international student? What are the options there? What is the pay like for like an on-campus job? Can that actually pay off your tuition or take care of your, monthly bills? What is it like for a student? How many hours can an international student work in Canada, and everything, revolving job as an international, not like after graduation? This one is
Mm-hmm.
on campus, yeah.
Okay, so on campus, right? So they have career services, which is one thing I really respect about a lot of Canadian schools. That they have career services where they post jobs both on campus and off campus, where you can basically go there and see a list of all of the jobs and then you can apply. So as an international student, you are allowed 20 hours a week. So some campus jobs pay above minimum wage. So the minimum wage is different for different provinces. So in Alberta, the minimum wage was $15. Think. I think it was $15, yes. And then in Ontario, it's 14. So depending on what province you're in, and then, but then I noticed that, or I find that working in school, they pay more. They pay more than the minimum wage. Maybe they pay $3 more, or in some cases $5 more. So it depends on what job you get in school. So what I did was, well, for me, I didn't have to do anything per se because I already was part of like a lab, and you can get like, well, you still do have to kind of indicate interest in being a teaching assistant. You have to indicate interest. That's if you're like part of a lab and those opportunities are available. If teaching assistant opportunities are not available, what then you can then do is, what I did first and foremost was I took my resume to the career center. Basically, I just asked, and then they call you for like, you set up like a small appointment, and then they call you for like a face-to-face session with your resume. Like you print it out right in front of you, and then you talk with someone who's a skilled expert in reviewing resumes, and they basically just work you through, readjust your resume, make it fit into the Canadian standard, and then they start pointing you out to places where you can get a job. And so that's after I worked on my resume, then I indicated interest in being a teaching assistant, and then so that's you know
So how
literally.
much how much is a teaching assistant paid in Canada? And besides the teaching assistantship position, what other jobs can international students do on campus? And also, are international students allowed to work off campus in Canada?
So between the range of, depending on what research group or who you are, tutoring for, so you can really be the minimum wage is 15, and then it can go up to like 18, 19, basically. So for international students are definitely allowed to work outside of campus. There's no restrictions on where you work. I think one thing I know is that if you work on campus, actually you are allowed in some schools to work beyond the 20 hours as long as it's on campus. But that 20 hours is the cap, is like basically that's it for if you're working outside of campus. So you have to actually do your research to see. So I know lots of people try to get jobs on campus because first of all, it's nice to have on your resume to
Yeah.
say that you work for university, and then it allows more hours. But then a lot of people don't get that. So what they do is then you didn't apply for jobs in the malls. That's where Indeed comes in. So you can do Indeed, you can do Glassdoor and all that, or you can do like a literal walk-in section. So you walk in, share your resumes around like the malls. So there are different jobs. You can work in the mall. You can. A lot of people work in factories. A lot of people work in. So depending on what your strength can carry. I personally I had friends that worked in factories, so they work overnight. So it pays more. I'm not gonna lie, it actually pays more to work in those kind of factories and stuff. But it means a lot of times you don't get to sleep because you work overnight, and they are long shifts. That's another thing. They are really long shifts. So for me, I like to sleep. So yeah, I never even like considered like any. So but people, I mean, so people who work in a factory. So one thing I know for sure is that 20 hours is enough to keep you going in terms of your rent, in terms of your upkeep and stuff. But in terms of tuition, I wouldn't say it's enough to pay your tuition. I wouldn't say that. But one thing is that during the summer break, or when school is off session, not just during the summer break, when school is off session, you're allowed to work as much as you can, honestly, as much as you honestly can, as long as school is not in session. Because Canada believes that your main reason for being here is school. So that's what you should be doing during school. You should be working part-time, just like as a side thing. But then when school is off session, even if it's just for 2 weeks, you can literally work way more than as long as you can actually carry. So that's one thing for sure. Um, what else is there when it comes to getting a job? And so a lot of people don't actually, I don't, especially for part-time roles, I don't think they care that if you have Canadian experience or not. It's just marketing yourself. You're just selling yourself basically for those kind of roles. You just must show or be able to show that, oh, you are a good person and I mean, you can do the work they say you should do. So yeah, that's what it is.
So from what you've said so far, it means that there are no restrictions to the kind of job you do. Like you don't have to do a job that's related to your major or anything like that.
No, you don't. Unless you are applying for those kind of, because I know people actually apply for those kind of like specific roles where it's like related to their like say for instance someone who maybe is a computer as a technician back in their home country and then they want to do something similar. Of course, you have to apply for that particular. But then if you want to just do something just to part-time just to keep body and soul alive, you can do anything. So it depends on what you set your mind to do. One thing I know for sure is I always like to say that I wouldn't do very strenuous jobs. So there are some things I already cut out of my things, like cleaning, factory, all those I just like I already cut those out. So but there are people who are like, oh more there's money there, because obviously the more strenuous it is, the more money they pay. Some
Yeah,
people are like, that's where the money is and that's where
that's
I'm
where
going
they
to
are
be.
going. That's
So
where the future
exactly.
is for them.
Exactly. So everybody's
So,
different. That's where the money is and that's where they are going. And truly, they make enough money. Because I know I have a couple of people who when it's summer, they work. That's what they do because they have their tuition to pay really. They work, they really work. That's one thing. And another thing is that people are lucky to get I would say community, I've forgotten what they are called, community assistants or community leaders program. So in residence, some like for instance, University of Calgary, some of the residents, you can apply to be a community leader or community assistant kind of thing, where your um house rent is paid for that period of time. But it means that you have to also be like active within the community, or you have to join in planning programs. You'll be on call sometimes if there are emergencies. So basically you have to give to the community for them to give back to you. So yeah, some schools have that on residents, like on campus residents. So some schools have that, some schools actually don't. That's something people should look out for too as well. So the thing is asking questions. When you get there, ask questions. They're like, oh, especially if you want to stay in res. A lot of people don't like to stay in res. I don't recommend staying in res.
So when
Personally.
you're saying stay in res, you mean dorms, school,
Yeah, like school. Oh, yeah.
campus accommodation.
Yeah. So on campus accommodation. Yeah,
So,
a lot.
yeah, you're saying you don't recommend it. So can you just tell us a little bit about why, off campus accommodation?
So this is that if you are staying on campus and you are lucky enough to actually get what's it called, like a community assistant kind of thing, or you are funded, it's great because I mean they're quite expensive. I don't know why they are so expensive, but they are so expensive. I have no
My
idea.
God, and
They are
you're
so
sharing it.
First of all, you are sharing it. It's so expensive. You can get double the size of that room for
Yeah.
lesser price outside of school. But the advantage is proximity. There's proximity. There is a sense of community on residents, and if you're lucky, you can get that program I was telling you about, the community assistance kind of thing. But yes, so it depends. But I would say the reason why I would say cost is one reason why I don't really recommend rest unless like you're totally new. Unless you're totally new, you have no idea like where else to stay. That's one thing. It's a safe place to start off. That's one thing for sure. It's a safe place to start off. You can stay in rest for like the first 4 months, get to know the place, find a different place off campus, and then move. If you don't know how else to get accommodation, because it's safe. That's one thing for sure. No one is going to dupe you. Because I know a couple of people who like paid, I don't know who they contacted or something outside school, and then paid their rent in quotes, and then when they got here, there was no house. Yeah. So yeah, just to be safe. Whereas, but if you can get outside options because it's less expensive, then do that. Yeah.
So now talking about cost, what is the cost of living in Canada for a student? Like, accommodation, bill, utilities, even what else? Tuition and everything. What is the cost of living for an international student? What should be my budget?
Whoa, for an international student for a year. So depending on where you eventually, I mean, so it depends on what school you actually go to. Some schools are really, really like really cheap. Per semester, you can pay like 3,000 to 5,000. But if you go to college, I think roughly 7,000, 8,000 for one semester. So depending on where you go. But then in terms of accommodation, so this is choice. This is a matter of choice. So some people are okay. Some people are lucky to find accommodation of like $350, $400. And then some people
Is that
and
for
then
a studio apartment or a one bedroom or a two
oh
bedroom?
no, that's definitely that's a one bed, and high chance you are sharing like the washroom and your common area, of course, with other people. So if you want it to go, so the higher your taste, the more expensive it is, and the area as well. So the nicer the area, the more expensive it is. So me, currently I stay in a 4 bed, but then it's in an apartment building, and so I pay $650 for 1 month, and that's outside of utilities. So with utilities,
So it's a 4 bed, but you have one room.
yeah, so I have one room,
So
and then
other people are paying for the others.
for
Okay.
the other, yes, exactly. So
For that
housing, one
room.
thing, housing is expensive in Canada. That's one thing for sure. Housing is expensive. So because it's an apartment, so some people actually pay way less for. So some people they like basement apartments. I don't like basements. Basements you can get for way less, nice as well, but then you can get for way less, maybe 400, 500, 450. So depending on what it is. But some people are lucky to have their internet and utilities fed into their bills. So for me here, we don't have that. You have to pay your utilities outside. Even internet, you have to pay outside of your house rent, which is one of the lows of staying in an apartment building. It's nice. It's actually nice to look at. So the aesthetics is nice, but the utilities, the internet, and all of that doesn't come with the apartment. So in terms of so housing really generally depends on your taste and what you're able to put up with. Because I know there are people who actually share rooms with people. Of course, if you share rooms, it's going to be way cheaper. It's going to be way, way, way cheaper.
You may
But then,
share the one room that you have to yourself, and then so if it's 640 for you, and then your two, that's 320.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly. So some people allow that. I know that houses, like people who have their own houses, they allow that people share their share rooms. But with an apartment building like this, officially, you are not supposed to share your room. But people do anyways.
Are you saying?
Fair enough. people still do that. Yeah. So also it depends on your tastes. How high do you want it to go? Do you want an apartment building? Do you want a normal house? Do you want to share your rooms? Do you like it on the nice side of town? Are you okay with, like, it's because of course when it's close to shopping centers and stuff, of course it becomes more expensive. The nicer part of town is, but if it's close to school, it's more expensive. It's, so those are words that kind of affect you generally. So if I'm saying for a year, maybe roughly plan for 10 to 12,000 Canadian dollars. That's
With
plus feeding, plus,
that includes your rent,
that's your rent.
and what?
So that's your rent, your feeding, your fees. Did I say? Yeah. So that's roughly around it. That's roughly
Around
around.
10 to 12K in a year, inclusive of your tuition. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That covers every feeding. Oh.
Wow.
For me, I feel like it's compared to the US here. I mean, it's
so yeah, that's how. So it depends roughly on, like, where you school, your city, your choices,
true.
and so it really depends. It really depends. That's one thing I know.
But that is good. I'm glad that you mentioned this. So because most times I still, because what I had in my head, I was like,
Sorry, when I said a year, I think my mistake was I was only thinking one semester. So if you include 2 semesters, really? Oh yeah, if you include 2 semesters, then maybe that can go up to 15,
so let's say
17 there. Yeah,
17,
about. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
that's so. Just have it. If you're watching now, you're like, okay, what should I have as my budget? This should give you like a clue. But again, remember, like she said, it is tied to your taste, the province that you're in, the school, the course that you're also registered for. So all of these things will affect the price and the entire budget. So don't come and say, oh, told you 15,000, then you come
and then no. So you have to do your research. You need to know. I mean, but I think there are lots of schools too. When you get your admission, somewhere in like your admission letter, they have a breakdown of recommended based on how we think our city is, plus your tuition, plus your feeding, plus books, and plus everything. I don't know why they add books there, but they add books, they add everything. Say this is how much you should roughly have. Because even that, based on what your school says, that's how much you have to be able to prove for your visa. That's I have so and so amount for my visa. So yeah, that's one thing too.
Okay. So that's good to know. I really like the fact that you put it out there so people can be aware. So I was going to ask you, what is there a difference between the fall semester and the spring semester in Canada? And if you were to advise someone to choose a particular semester to start off with, what would be your preference?